Oh, with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Well, this, folks have been joking about how the last 4 years this week have been, and today was aggressive in nature, I would say. We continue to have reports of people in communities throughout Chicago who are being detained, arrested, or apprehended in Chicago. And there are reports in my neighborhood that these are, like, one woman was looking for legal help because it was her father, that he did have legal residence here. And this is going to be very hard, folks. It's I don't know if you want to call them the gaslighters or the people who are poo-pooing or saying, well, if he was here illegally, he should go. Here was somebody looking for help on a social media platform, just saying, I need some legal help, and everyone just piling, not everyone. Of course, there were thoughtful, considerate neighbors who gave her advice. On the other hand, the reaction from others who were like, well, if he broke the law, he shouldn't have been here. He was here illegally. Just no empathy. The exact opposite of what the pastor was asking for, Batty had asked for, a bishop at Batty had asked for in that service, in that sermon, was mercy. Just mercy. Could you take a friggin' breath, folks, while people wade through all of these situations, these crises that their families are going through? Take a friggin' breath. And okay, today's news about this memo that came out of OMB, which is the Office of Management and Budgets, and I want to reiterate something that a colleague of mine has been saying, is that we should not be saying it's a freeze. Right. I understand there's a court order that they're going to. They're blocking this move, I believe, until Monday. But I think that we need to be very specific about our language. And someone sent this to me. Right. Is calling this a freeze is not accurate. Right. It's not a spending pause. Call the Trump administration orders a cut to impactful programs that people depend on. That's it. They cut those. The move is to cut the programs. Because if you're wondering why they did this, they're saying that they want to cut these programs if they do not comply with the Trump administration's vision for America, right? That they don't want any programs that use any policies that resemble wokeism. I mean, they're very specific in this, and they're halting it. So it's a unilateral shutdown on federal financial assistance. And I'll tell you, this threatens to destabilize really, truly essential services across the country. I know personally, I've talked to many people in the state of Illinois. And when we think about, I've talked about the budget impasse under the Rauner administration years ago. And that's what drew me even more, actively into politics. Before I had been, I talked about politics, I was engaged, but when Governor Rauner made those cuts, he did it for a very specific reason. So I want to, this occurred to me as I was driving over. So what they did, the OMB said that this was in order to, they want to make sure that we don't have wokeism, that we don't have DEI programs. Oh, specifically, they're saying they're targeting Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies. So these are the things that they're going after. And here's why. We can say that it's because they want it in their image and all these things. And I'm sure that there are people in the administration that do. But they are doing it because it works with the base that put them in there. This was what stirred them up over the last 4 years, whether it was after the Black Lives Matters marches and the George Floyd murder, right? It was the idea that we needed we needed to make sure that we had hiring practices that reflect our population, that we wanted to make sure that we address the inequality that have been persistent for centuries in this country, right? But and that's where we're coming from. We're coming from that place. They're saying that it's wokeism, that it's it's this Marxism. That's the language they're using. But it really comes down to this, because Governor Rauner did it because he wanted to break unions in Illinois. That was the entire drive behind cutting social services, and it was the exact same social services. I mean, it wasn't Medicaid. However, the only reason we made it through that budget impasse was because there was a legal mandate to make sure we had funding. And what saved us in that was because we had federal funding for Medicaid, and we could continue those programs. But it's both. It's exactly the same thing. It's the billionaires. It's the wealthy deciding that the working class, that the poor are disposable for their means. We are the ends to their means. If we are struggling, then that puts us exactly where they want us, that we are taking out loans, that we are missing mortgage payments and now turning those homes back over to the banks. This is going to hurt people. And I understand that my mom, on the way out, she said, well, they're pausing it. And I understand that gives people a moment of hope. We have to be very specific on this. People are going to suffer. And I know this sounds harsh. And I guess this is why I started pacing myself, why I removed myself last week, because I can't react to every single thing. It is a much bigger picture than what we are seeing in the news. And we know the news is giving us lies. We talk about it as being misinformation, but they cut things out. They don't cover it. They frame it in a way of like this a new approach or whatever it is. I hate to say this, we are very much on our own. The Democrats, whatever they can do, whatever they can scream, they can pull their hair out. They have captured the Supreme Court. They have both branches of our government. I mean, they have both branches, the House and the Senate, and they have the executive. So they have all three branches of the government. So what we need to do is to make sure we are supporting the people who need it. If you know somebody if there are programs that are cut, if you know a senior in your life who maybe depends on Meals on Wheels, make sure that they are comforted and that you connect them with maybe a church. And this is what I learned in Springfield. In 2015, I was standing in the House of Representatives. I was in the press box, and I asked a Republican, walked by, Representative Sullivan. And I said, what do you think about these cuts to the autism program of Illinois, to Meals on Wheels, to after-school programs? And you know what he said to me? Exactly what Elon Musk just said before the election. He said, well, we're broke. The state's broke. People are going to have to suffer. And I said, you started with kids and seniors, and he just kept walking. And that's exactly what they're going to keep doing. They are going to continue to make us suffer because it pads their pockets, and it keeps them in power. It keeps them, whether it's on the Supreme Court or going to nice dinners in Washington, D.C. It keeps the lobbyists full and just pounding their chests about the successes they've had. We need to get those folks who didn't show up for the election. We need to get them activated for the next election in 2026. We need to make sure that we are focusing on this election in Wisconsin. We're going to have an interview air in a moment that I recorded with Officer Harry Dunn, who of course served in the Capitol Police for 15 years and was attacked on January 6th during the insurrection. And we talked a little bit about the work that we all need to do, and we need to be brave. I know that I just said a lot of scary things. People are going to suffer. People are going to lose their homes. They're going to struggle paying rent. They're going to struggle. We are going to struggle buying groceries. And I say we because I have a son who has physical and intellectual challenges. We rely on a lot of services that are funded both through my work and through the state of Illinois and through federal programs. Look, there are IEPs. If you have a child on an IEP, some of those programs are supported by federal funding that was threatened today with this nonsense about Marxism and DEI and wokeism and transgenderism. It was never about the bathrooms. It was never about DEI. It was about robbing you blind and tricking people into thinking that everything that's wrong in their lives was the fault of the commies, of men and women's bathrooms, of a black pilot. And it was never about that. It was about robbing you blind and turning this country into a white Christian nationalist and fascist country. Okay, I think that's all I want to say for now. I'm going to take a break and take a breath. We have an interview that we'll share with you in just a moment with with Officer Harry Dunn. And we also have the phone lines. At some point, I got to open the phone lines because I want to see how you guys are doing, but we'll have to do that later because I have this interview to air. And I'm trying really hard to breathe. This was a bad day. I did not like. Do not recommend. But there's going to be more of them. And we're here together. And we'll keep talking about it and keep finding out how we can help each other. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. We are thrilled to be joined by Harry Dunn, a man whose courage and candor has helped shape our national conversation around democracy and justice. As a former U.S. Capitol Police officer with more than 15 years of service, he stood his ground during one of America's most challenging moments, the January 6th attack on the Capitol. He has since emerged as one of the most outspoken voices about that day. He's testified before Congress about his experiences, including facing racial slurs from rioters. After he left the Capitol Police, he ran to be a congressional member in Maryland and is continuing to advocate for democratic institutions across the country. And today he's here fresh from Wisconsin, where he's been speaking about judicial independence and the impact of recent presidential pardons, of course, related to January 6th. Harry, it's great to talk to you again. It was a pleasure to meet you last year at the DNC. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, it's so good to talk to you. Glad to be on with you. I'm going to get in there to answer your question. I feel like a lot of other people, just doing whatever we can do to keep our heads up and focus on what's important going forward.
Well, I think that's important. You know, there are a lot of folks today who are really more scared than they were yesterday. You know, we're seeing all this news, whether it's the pardons, whether it's what's happening with ICE, and today the federal blockade to funding for programs that people rely on. And I wanted to ask you, what do you tell folks? Because you have shown a type of bravery that a lot of us don't have, whether physical or training and things like that. But there are different kinds of bravery. Tell us a little about that, will you?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. I don't look at myself any different than anybody else. Listen, everybody that's afraid right now, you should be afraid. And I'm not saying that in a scary type way, but your fears are absolutely valid. A lot of people on the other side, meaning the MAGA world, they use this fear-mongering as if there's this invisible boogeyman that's coming to get you. However, there's an actual real boogeyman in the White House right now who is actually coming for people. And people's fears, their concerns, them being afraid, it's 100% valid. And why I keep going is because there are people out there that need somebody to fight for them, need somebody to be a voice for them. When I became a police officer, I became one to be a public servant because I believe in helping people. When I ran for Congress, I believe your elected representatives should work for you to help you, not to go to D.C. and kiss the ring as so many have chosen to do when somebody comes into office that doesn't align with the majority of the people in people's districts.
Well, and that's the thing is, when you talk about what, growing up and when you thought of as what responsibilities were, what it means to serve Americans, I also, do you find it challenging to reconcile the fact that we have a different idea of what human decency should be, like how we should treat each other, how we should care for one another, how we should, just even conceive of democracy and what this entire experiment is, right?
Yeah, that was always used to be the easy part, decency and decorum. That is since gone out the window. It's a thing of the past. And, you can't even have a decent conversation with people. When even on social media, this interview, I'm sure I'll be met with, a bunch of insults and it's unfortunate because it has led to this climate that we're in right now, where right now regarding January 6th, it's not even about people can't even acknowledge that it was a terrible day where police officers were brutally attacked. And people can't even come to grips with acknowledging that as bad because somehow that's a political issue.
Right. It's not. I mean, it's pretty clear the violence that unfolded. And what did you think yesterday when you learned that one of the guys who was pardoned was shot and killed in an altercation with police officers?
You know what? When I talked about, in my book I wrote about these people that attacked the Capitol. Now, yes, let's be clear, because I don't want to hear, well, there were people. Listen, there were people at the Capitol on January 6th who did not beat police officers. There were people there who peacefully protested, who did not storm and raid the Capitol, who were appalled by what they were seeing. Those individuals existed. Full stop. Now, you go on and say that there were individuals there who went there strictly to beat the crap out of police officers, who went to attack people who were violent individuals before January 6th, that didn't just get caught up in the moment. So that's why, like, these pardons, these blanket pardons, they're not confusing. They're just ignorant. They're just ignorant. Anybody not condemning them is supporting them. These individuals have had, a lot of them, had criminal records before January 6th. That's why some of them were in prison so long, because of their prior criminal history. They didn't just get 3 months for, walking around the Capitol. Yeah, that was your third offense, and then a violent offense. A lot of these individuals were already career criminals. And I'm not surprised to see so many of them in a short period of time already having run-ins with the law.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about that. It was the day of January 6th, was the day of the attack on the Capitol your last day, or did you serve? I'm not sure of the timeline. Or did you serve after that?
Sure. I served almost 3 years after the attack on the Capitol.
Wow.
I left the department December 17th of 2023. Going into 2024. No, I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah, we are in 2025. yeah, 2023. Going into 2024. I left about 2 weeks short of January 6th of it being 3 years.
Wow. Well, how
so
was
I continued to serve.
Yeah.
Continued to after that.
Even when when you testified in front of Congress and you met with those on the other side, on one side of the aisle, who refused to acknowledge, who initially on the day of themselves were, one, afraid for their lives, many of whom spoke the truth about what happened, and then completely turned around and acted as though it was just a tour that, of course you go on a tour and you smear fecal matter on the walls of someone's office and you beat a police officer. Sure, that's normal. How did you?
Yeah, that's normal, right?
Right? How did you carry yourself in that environment, in that energy of the sort of actual alter reality of people who didn't accept the truth?
Well, the same way I did on January 6th, and the same way I did the 12 or 13 years before January 6th. The Capitol police officers are some of the most professional people that I've worked with in my life. They believe in their oath. They believe in serving the Constitution, the people. Think about, we don't protect specific, or the way I had to change my mindset. It's not about protecting the individuals who denied what we went through. It's about protecting the institution or that seat of Congress that they represent. There are hundreds of listeners or thousands of listeners out there that their representative is in Congress. They may have not voted for whoever's there in that seat. And our job is to represent that seat. So if by me doing my job and protecting that seat of Congress, we got to go out there and win elections. So one day that seat will continue to exist, and it's not about the person necessarily holding that seat right now.
Did you, in your years prior to January 6th, reflecting back, did you see any of this coming in regards to the vulnerability of the institution?
No. Who predicted that a country? Even this election, I didn't predict him getting back to the White House. So I guess we have to stop living with this notion that we as Americans are this. Well, yeah, we're a great nation, but we're this nation that we stand up and believe in decency, dignity, and liberty and justice for all. Do we really?
Right.
Do we really? What? Clearly not. It was a wake-up call of what America really is, who we are as a people that we are people who failed to reject somebody who incited a mob to stop the certification and try to overturn the election.
Yeah,
that's who we are in America.
I can argue with you. Have you, in the work that you've been doing since you left Capitol Police and ran for office, have you had the opportunity to come across somebody who maybe had thought one way before, but having a conversation or had came to the same place that this is vulnerable, that this is going down the wrong path of wanting to basically burn it all down?
And to be very honest and candid with you, I don't focus on individuals.
Okay.
There are some individuals, right? You could present them with the tape and watch. I mean, January 6th was one of the most documented crimes in American history. So there are some people who will watch that and still deny. I'm not out there attempting to convince them anymore. I'm out there convincing people who don't know, people that are unaware, people that sat home during this last election. Those are people that we need to reach. Donald Trump has a base, and they're not going anywhere, no matter what they're presented with, period. I'm out there reaching individuals that can be reached right now, and I think that's what we need to focus on right now. I mean, look at the last election. It wasn't a mandate. It wasn't a landslide. I mean, it was less than 1 million votes or something like that. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it was very close. Now, it shouldn't have been. I still believe that Kamala Harris should have won that election. But a lot of people decided to sit this one out. Those are the people that we need to focus and get back. People that sat this one out.
I agree. And I love that you were in Wisconsin, because I was also in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, the Saturday before the inauguration to work with the Democrats there. Tell us a little bit about that, because I agree. That's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, because that's where I can have the most impact. And to your point, to reach voters who didn't show up last. I want to go to those doors. I want to go to registered voters who didn't show up. I want those names and addresses. I mean, in a good way, just to say hi.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I'm here in Wisconsin right now. There's a Supreme Court race that's coming up. There's an individual that is running that has failed to condemn the pardons by Donald Trump. He's failed to condemn it. Now, listen, I don't know where he stands on any other policy, but anybody seeking public office, especially at the Supreme Court level, should be able to push back forcefully and say that pardoning people who attack police officers is wrong. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. He's not able to do that. So absolutely, any opportunity I have to speak out and push back against those individuals, especially elected officials, public servants, I will continue to do so. And that's why I'm here in Wisconsin and the cheese curds.
I was going to say, if you had a chance, I highly recommend going to the Brat Stop. It's in Kenosha. It's fantastic.
Okay.
I know people will tell you Mars. I know that
next visit. Next visit.
People will tell you Mars Cheese Castle, but don't sleep on Brat Stop. It's fantastic. I mean, there's so many great stops in Wisconsin. Before we go,
listen, I get excited about Quick Trip. Like,
I know.
I am not hard to please.
They have two things. They have good fried chicken and good donuts. They have good blueberry donuts. That's yeah.
The donuts are fantastic.
So good.
Yes.
So good. Before we let you go, because I know you're busy and traveling around a lot. One, when are you coming back to Wisconsin before the April 1st election for the Supreme Court?
I don't have anything on my calendar right now. I'm not opposed to it, so we'll see how things continue to play out.
Okay.
But that leads me to the point. We all got to do something. Like the people that are in dismay and want to throw their hands up and quit. I get it. You feel helpless. What can we do? We have to focus on what we can do right now. And there's an election, like you said, in April. In 2025, there are gubernatorial races all across the country. In 2026, we have the midterms. So we have to stay engaged. Don't wait until Election Day or the day after to have an opinion about what's going on.
Excellent. I really appreciate that, my friend. It's Harry Dunn. And where do you have a website, social media, like to direct folks so they can follow the work that you're doing?
I use Blue Sky. Libra Dunn 1 on Blue Sky. And also, I started a PAC, Harry Dunn's Democracy Defenders PAC. check it out. We believe in supporting pro-democracy candidates and do whatever we can do to restore decency and preserve democracy.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank you for the service that you provided this country in the service of the Capitol Police and in the service you're doing now to get the word out there that we have to get involved, do something. Everyone can do something. Thank you so much, my friend. Harry Dunn. Have a great
Thank you.
Be
Thank
safe
you so
in your
much
travels.
for having me. You too.
Of course. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. And, we often talk about national politics, and we also want to focus on the communities throughout the area. And joining us right now is Stephanie Ganzi, trustee of the Village of Bartlett. Hi, Stephanie. How you doing today?
Great, Patty. Thank you.
I forgot to move your microphone all the way closer to you. Grab that just swing it all the way. There you go.
Right.
Apologies. Thank you for joining us. And I was just reading up on your career in politics, which was showing up at a neighborhood meeting, at a town meeting, and you're the only one there?
I did. I was the only one that showed up for an event. I was excited to watch it, and I had someone come up to me. I was the only one there, and they said, "Hey, we have a spot open on our Economic Development Commission, and I think you'd be great. Let's talk about it."
Oh my gosh! Okay, let's back up a little bit. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hampshire, which is about half hour west of Bartlett.
Okay. So, where'd you go to college? What was the plan for you?
Sure. So I grew up in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Northern Illinois University.
All right. Go Huskies.
Yes, go Huskies. It was wonderful. There was other places I was looking at, but I received a scholarship, and it was kind of nice to be close to home and still have the connection with my parents.
And it's a great school. What were you studying?
Communication, public relations, and media studies.
All right. So when you moved to Bartlett, was it a community you sought out, or was it? Did you meet someone that was from Bartlett?
No. So for a while, I was living and working in Elmhurst, and then I wanted to purchase my first home, and I started looking around, more west then to be closer back to Hampshire, and Bartlett caught my eye, one, because I loved the way the town felt, and I love all of the open space that's there. I like to be outside. I like to be walk around paths.
Yeah.
And then there was just a lot of the small businesses that's how I wanted to live.
My sister lived in Bartlett for a while. She kept moving farther west, though. She started in Roselle, then she went to Bartlett, then she went to West Chicago. Now she's in Elgin. I'm like, are you going to Iowa? What are we doing? And the thing about Bartlett, it has grown so much. I mean, the economic development there, I've seen, a lot of, I used to go horseback riding in Bartlett. Do they still have the stables there in Bartlett?
Yes, there are still the stables there.
Yeah.
There are still a lot of things that you probably remember from, decades ago. I used to travel through Bartlett to go visit friends, and there's a lot of things that I could still pick out, but it has changed a lot. And even though I've been there now almost 16 years, and I've seen new businesses, new events, things that are coming into town. And it's been fun to be part of that change and to help create that lifestyle that everyone wants in Bartlett.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, about some of the growth that's happened and some of the resources that people, if they're thinking about, moving somewhere, as you mentioned, there's a lot of space there. There's a lot of opportunity to hike and get out into I have, is that in DuPage County?
So we spread actually 3 counties, DuPage, Cook, and then just a little tiny bit in Kane.
All right, because we're friends with Rick Gieser, who just won the Forest Preserve Commission.
Yes.
And I don't know where that fits into the Bartlett area.
We have forest preserves in Bartlett. We have a state park. So a lot of beautiful outdoor space to visit. Like I said, I love walking the paths, going through woods. My children love that as well. My family, we take family bike trips and go out to visit some of these places. So it's beautiful. It's nice to have the businesses in town, but it's nice to have the open space as well. It really is a good spot.
So you mentioned, you go to this meeting in 2017. You're the only one there. Was that common? Is that why they were like, come work with us? Nobody's showing up.
No, I think before they had people show up, it was just
a fluke.
It was my lucky day.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was the day my life took a direction I wasn't expecting, and it's been exciting ever since.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was something you ever aspired to, was running for office of all things.
You know what? No, I never really thought about it. I was always very involved, like even in college. Like I like to be part of donating my time or helping. Even when I first moved to Bartlett, I sought out the Chamber of Commerce to see if I could volunteer time. It was just something that happened, and it was another way for me to feel like I'm helping my community. It's very important for me to be involved in the community I'm in, and that was a chance that I wouldn't look away from. Like, it was wonderful. I served on the EDC, the shortened version of it, and then I was. There was a person that passed away on the village board, wonderful person, great trustee, and the mayor reached out to me and, said, hey, would you apply for this? So again, it was just something that happened, and it's been like the best route that I could imagine. And then I did have to run a campaign. But it was like 2 months into that, I was appointed, and then 2 months later, hey, you're going to have to get these signatures. You're going to have to run a campaign to get reelected again. So, and then I did.
And was there a challenger?
There was a challenger.
Okay.
Yes, we did. There was 3 spots and 4 people running. So you had to do your campaigning, had to do a lot of local people have to do, walk around, knock on doors, meet people, and try to get your message out there and the reasons why you're the person for the seat.
So when you have 4 people going for 3 seats, it's not necessarily, it doesn't lend itself to negative campaigning, does it? Because you're pretty much, you're going to work with at least 2 of these people.
Correct. No. And it was really just trying to point out what experience that you had in your past that could help with this position. Because just as a reminder, these are not paid positions.
Oh, wow.
So we all have our jobs bringing in our income, but this is something we want to do because we truly believe we can help our community. And I could say that the board we have now, all of them have become awesome friends to me. We disagree sometimes, but it only leads to a better outcome for everybody.
And for folks who aren't familiar necessarily with what a board of trustees does, tell them what folks turn to you for, what you're responsible for as well.
Sure. So our board is the one that we can help set policy, the strategic direction for the village. We help connect people when there are issues. A lot of times you'll have people that will come in front of our board to speak, to let us know a problem that they're having. For instance, we just had a group of people come because they were parking on the street, and then it was determined that they shouldn't have been parking on the street, but then they had a problem that we needed to solve, right? We had to figure out a way to make this right for everybody and try something out, and that's what we did. And they have spots now where they can park their cars, and that's the whole point of this is to try to help our residents live the lifestyle that they deserve in Bartlett. And, sometimes it takes a few different meetings or a few different discussions to get to the right conclusion. But overall, I think our board that we've had intact here has done an excellent job. We are all focused on growth because, as we know, villages are dynamic. Things can move backwards. So we want to try to make sure we're doing what we can. We want to preserve that our village motto. We have progress with pride, and we want to preserve that. We want people to feel like it's the Bartlett that they know, but we also know that we need to come up with the right changes and the right development to keep it going in the direction to keep that lifestyle we expect.
And folks need to know, because we talk about this all the time on this show. For years, I've been telling folks to know who their local electeds are. We get sort of drawn into these conversations at different levels. But the people, as you mentioned, a parking spot, the people who impact your lives most directly are your local electeds. Tell folks how they can contact not just you, but any local elected, how to find their local elected.
Right. So advice to anyone out there, no matter where you are, is to know your village website and be able to go on there and, you can see who your elected officials are. You could do a search. There's more than likely going to be email or a phone number. So we have people that can call the village straight if they have an issue. They can contact us if they want kind of a different perspective, meet with us. And I could tell you our board will meet with you. All of us love to help solve problems, so we are there. We are also big connectors. So if it's not something that the village can help with, maybe it's something the township can help with. Maybe you have a person with a disability and they're looking for something something, we'll point you in the direction of the township. So we are people that can connect you with other resources and help you get to the answer you need.
And we also have, I just got a text from a friend who's like, also you can visit vote.org to find out who your local electeds are as well.
Sure.
You type in your address and things like that.
Right. So it goes all the way down to your local level.
Yeah.
So most people know maybe they're national, their state, but it's definitely good to know your local elected officials.
And I will give advice for folks. You don't have to do this part, but I will tell folks, please, whatever is going on, if it's something that's frustrating you, take a breath, take a beat. Don't come at somebody. They're just coming into your conversation. So, because people come in hot sometimes.
Yeah, and that's expected.
Yeah.
We have people come to the meeting, and sometimes they are very upset. And it's up to us, though, to listen to that. Like, obviously, this is a reaction they're having to something, and we want to hear it. And I could tell you, all of us appreciate when someone comes in because our eyes can't be everywhere. We don't always know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it is appreciated when people come in and they want to tell us something or reach out beforehand. Like, we want to know what's going on. We want to know how people are feeling in our community so we can help with that strategic direction.
See, I think if more people realize that they had that access at that level, it might mitigate so many things that escalate, right? I don't even put that on a shirt or something. No, but because even if it's just connecting with resources or trying to find out, even if it's like today's just about trying to find out, how do I find out if my Medicaid's still okay? Well, maybe I don't know the answer, but I can point you in the direction of our state electeds, right? There's different steps to take. And the other thing, to your point, is if you can't be everywhere, you can't have your eyes everywhere and ears. If you don't know someone's story, you can't address the needs for them and for their community.
Exactly. I have learned so much in the past 4 years, and I've always been a person that is curious, but I could tell you that being in this role has opened my eyes even more. There's just been so many different facets to this role, but like I said, I love helping people. This whole board likes helping people, so we want to hear it. So, yes, I encourage everyone to reach out to their local officials.
Outstanding. And so you have, how many people are on the board again?
So we have 6 trustees and the mayor, so there's 7 of us.
6 trustees and the mayor. And you meet every month. Are the meetings every month, or is it more?
Every other week.
Oh, every other week, twice a month. All right.
Yeah.
And have you guys switched to Zoom at all? Has that changed since the pandemic, or is it all in person?
We all come in person. We do have the video if people still want to watch or join that way. So you don't even have to be in the meeting if there's something that you want to say. And I would also tell people, if you can't make a meeting or can't be on Zoom, that you should email, because we will bring it up.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it's not like you have to be there in person. We always have people come in that are scared to speak in person. You don't have to do that. We will advocate for you, to get your information out there and, see what the possible solutions are. And
so what day of the week do you do your meetings?
So it's the first and third Tuesday.
Okay.
I can tell you we all put in way more time than that. We read the packet. We talk. So, but we all love it.
And then, is it what time does the meeting start?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. So someone like me, if I couldn't make it to the meeting, maybe I'm cooking dinner or wrapping up dinner. I'm just saying, folks, dip into these meetings that are happening in your community so you know what's going on. Is it all kind of business stuff, or do you also do resolutions and things like that, honoring people, things like that?
Oh, yeah. So
celebrating.
Yes, we usually have a resolution every time. We have noted people in the community that have served for many years or just did something fantastic. Or if there's a certain month that we're celebrating, that, we'll have a proclamation for that as well. So there's a lot of fun things too. We have a lot of events that we put on throughout the year in Bartlett. That's another thing. Our 4th of July event is Oktoberfest. We have art events. So there's a lot of happening. So a lot of fun things too.
And we want to say hi to our friends in Bartlett, Arminetti Beverage Mart at 270 East Devon Avenue in Bartlett carries our sponsors brew, as a matter of fact. So Monaco Brewing Company is carried. Monaco products are carried at Arminetti Beverage Mart, and you can always visit Bartlett during Restaurant Week. Tell us a little bit about Restaurant Week.
Sure. So this is our first ever Restaurant Week, and we are super excited for it. So as everyone knows, January and February are hard on restaurants.
A little bit.
People don't want to go out to eat too much, might have be celebrating Dry January. So you see a lot of restaurant weeks pop up. But we are doing this as part of our Belong in Bartlett campaign. And so it's February 2nd through 8th. And we have a lot of different restaurants that are participating in this. And they came up with some different specials. So everything from American, Italian, Mexican, Asian, even there's Colombian, Indian, and Venezuelan options. And then even options from like small tapas to bar fare to, just like a regular restaurant. So we have a lot of fun options in Bartlett. And I could pick out my favorite dish at every single one of these restaurants that are participating.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love Restaurant Week, and you're right. It's a really hard time of the year because after the holidays, everything's kind of quiet, and it slows down a little bit. And folks can go to bartlettil.gov. Is that right, for information?
And then we have Belong in Bartlett as well for Restaurant Week. So then there's a whole listing there with their specials. I definitely encourage, if you haven't been to Bartlett or if you know someone there, reach out to them to try at least one of these options, because there's definitely some fantastic items on the menu.
Because we really do need to support our local businesses with everything that's going on. And it's a way to gather, too. Because there's a lot of stress right now for various reasons. And I think it's a great way to make sure that you are supporting the restaurants that help you create memories the rest of the year, too. Right?
Sure. And, I'm very big on support local. Most of the residents of Bartlett are. You'll see people around town. I think what's important with this campaign is that we are wanting to bring people from outside of Bartlett in, because that's also really good for these restaurants. Just the people in Bartlett can't support this. So we need, we want other people to know what we have here and bring them in. And one marker that I have for success that I have seen is when I first moved to Bartlett, people would be like, oh, where are we going? And we go to, different towns. Now my friends call me and they're like, well, where are we going in Bartlett? Because
Really?
We've gone to some great places with you, and we want to try something else. So let's go to Bartlett again.
Tell us a little about that. So it's got that sort of small town area, because Bartlett's a little bit spread out as well. Off of what is it? You get off of 90. They changed the name of the road. I used to get off.
Yeah. So there's it's south of 90, 59.
59 was always get off.
Runs like straight through. Route 20 right there. So that's where we're located.
But it's a little sprawling, but you have a downtown
It is sprawling. So we have about 41,000 people. It's a big piece of land. We have our downtown area, so there's a lot of restaurants there. But there's restaurants spread across the area of Bartlett. So.
Well, it's funny because we had a fringe festival. We used to have a fringe festival right here in Jefferson Park, with a comedy fest, and I was surprised to find out one of the business owners found her storefront because she came to the fringe festival. She fell in love with the neighborhood, so it can be a great way for someone to go, I never really thought about Bartlett. I love that.
Sure. Yeah, we have all these events in the hopes that, we do have other people come in so they're aware of Bartlett and what we have to offer. Another thing that our board voted on this past September was TIF district, Tax Increment Financing District, which is a tool for economic development. This started about 75 years ago, TIF districts. And so we have one going on right now, and that's, help our Lake Street corridor, so the north side of town, help to redevelop that area. And
if folks need to know more information about the TIF, because a TIF district, it's really complicated for folks. It's complicated for me. Right.
You know what? It is complicated. And that used to be my beat in college, was I covered all of the DeKalb village information, and TIF was something I reported on a lot, and there's still questions I have, so I'm lucky I'm on the board and that we have the professionals come in to talk about it, because there are a lot of facets to it. There's a lot of different mandates per the law of how it needs to operate, but we've had a successful one before, so we want to utilize this program to have more success for our village.
And so you also, I was asking because your website is Gansey for Bartlett, right?
Yeah, that's my personal.
Your personal campaign. But you're running for re-election, but you're running, congratulations, unopposed.
Yes, that is correct. It is a nice weight off my shoulders, and I can tell you this is the most favorite role that I have.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm excited to do another 4 years, and I tell you, it feels really good to have 4 years of knowledge behind you, and thinking about what the next 4 years can hold. I know I could do an even better job.
That's great. And what when's the election? I mean, even though you're running unopposed, it's still important for folks to show up and find out what the issues are on the ballot for I would imagine, other candidates, right?
Sure. I mean, so April 1st, so April Fool's Day. You have elections.
Of course it is, right?
So, yes, that's where you do want to pull the ballot, because it's not, just your village board. Mm-hmm. There's library board, park district board,
right?
All the different areas that you would vote on. So it is important to pull that ballot and take a look at it so you understand what you want to vote for.
And I believe Valerie and Luke were telling me that there's somebody else in the house that's running. Is that this election coming up on April 1st that someone else is running for the library board, or may I?
Yes, their dad.
Do you want to tell us?
Yeah.
Valerie, you can talk right in that microphone. Is Dad running for office?
Yes.
Are you excited about that?
Yes.
Are you going to go? Do you go door knocking?
Yes.
Really? We go door knocking as a family?
Yeah. Why are you excited for Dad to run for the library?
Because his favorite job was the library, but he says all his other jobs he doesn't really like. So I can't wait to go back to the library.
That's fantastic. I think you should be the campaign spokesperson. Thank you, Valerie. How about you, Luke? Are you going to be out there campaigning for Dad at all, or are you going to kind of let Valerie do all the work?
Yeah, I'm going to tell the people at school probably.
He did tell all his gaming friends before we came here that Mom was going to be on the radio, so that made me feel good.
Yeah.
Look out.
But also, I'm going to be running for next year, hopefully, in my class.
Oh, we're kicking off. We're announcing a new campaign right here. Luke Anzi is running for student council next year. What's the name of the high school? Don't squeeze that, because it's popping a little bit.
It's an elementary school, 6th grade.
Uh-huh. Excellent. All right, so we'll have to make sure when you're ready to go, we'll have you do your platform right here on WCPT. Okay? All right, I love that.
I want to do.
You want to run for something? Absolutely.
I want to do the same thing as him.
Of course, and better, not better. Sorry,
It's a family thing.
In 4th grade, she'll be able to, and she's only in 2nd right now, so 2
I'm
years.
in 3rd next grade.
Oh, and what's your favorite subject?
Math.
Oh man, not mine. Luke, how about you?
Social studies.
Me too. I'm a history. I like history and
I
English.
also love art.
You also love art? Excellent.
Music.
Do you think any of your friends are listening? You want to say hi to anybody? Nobody's listening. Hey, don't rub it in, all right? Not for nothing, Valerie. You want to say hi to who?
Francesca Capuani.
Hi, Francesca. How about you, Luke? Anybody out there? Yeah. Meh. Sorry.
Not even.
Oh.
If maybe my friend Connor.
Hey, Connor. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure your parents are listening. They'll enjoy it.
Hey, is my dad on your radio?
He might be listening. Hopefully. We'll have to bring him. I'm going to have some, because the job that your mom does is so important at the local level. We also want to talk to school board candidates, library board candidates. We have our friend Arad out in St. Charles. So, we'll be having more candidates on. Absolutely. So, thank you so much for bringing your family in.
Thank you, Patty.
I know why you do it. I know. I don't want them to wrestle over the headphones. I don't want no pulled hair on the show. Well, congratulations on all the great work you're doing, and I wish you the very best for Restaurant Week as well. And again, where can folks go for information on Restaurant Week?
Sure. So there's Belong in Bartlett or the Village of Bartlett website. You can even Google Bartlett Restaurant Week and you'll find it.
Outstanding. Thank you. Great to meet all of you. Have a great evening. I know it's a long drive, but I really appreciate you bringing Mom, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, make sure she gets home safe, will you?
My teacher was sick yesterday. So
oh, no. I hope she gets better. And I hope it wasn't contagious.
she came back
Be careful.
today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after this. Paul, we can open the phone lines for at least a call or two before we go to the Tom Pell coming up at 6. Right back after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Again, that's Ganzi for Bartlett.com. Gandsey. Gandsey. More in a moment.
Listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Now, because we had a little bit of a panic a couple weeks ago, you know that if I don't hear from Jim, I get a little concerned. So I got to open up the phone lines at least before I go to the 6 o'clock break. Hey, Jim, how you doing today?
How are you, Patty? Real quick, they had a University of Chicago professor study all 1,600 of those cases of people went to prison. He said they were all validated on camera attacking the Capitol. Yep. They had one guy who had an AR-14 was there for 2 days, swearing to kill Nancy Pelosi with a bullet to the head. Yep. He was pardoned.
Yep.
So this guy is the king of violence. And what's interesting about this guy, the first debate, Patty, I watched the first debate, and I'm like, oh, my God, what a group of psychos this is. And when I called a cab, and I go outside, and there's a couple outside. And I go, man, did you watch that debate? And I said, especially Trump, that maniac. What do you mean? I mean, this guy put up his dukes. And I look at myself, now, if I knock this guy out, his girl's going to have to stuff him into the cab. You know what I mean?
Right.
Plus, he was 20 years younger than I was. But that was the reaction I got. And that's what these Republicans want. They want this violence.
Yes.
They really want violence.
Yeah.
No, they do. They want violence. And I'm prepared to give it to him. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
Easy, Jim. Easy, Jim. We do not condone nor encourage any...
No, but Patty, you've got to have a resistance to this. And not only that, but you have to be strategic about it. You can't go on the Internet. Look at the kid, the 11-year-old kid that said something about Trump, and they had two Secret Service guys go after him.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the country. We're living in a country now that you can't put any opinion in an email or on the Internet or anything like that, because you're going to be scrutinized by his shirts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a regular army behind him, and he's the one. You saw him on January 6th. If you don't fight back, you won't have a country.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. I mean, what else has he got to say? I mean, and now look at these. Look at this.
Look, they've been
willing.
They allow themselves to be they're willingly manipulated by Trump, by the oligarchs, by all these big corporations and billionaires, and here we are. It's not about the bathrooms. It's not about DEI. It's not about wokeism.
No.
It's about keeping us fighting against each other and keeping those people angry, wanting more guns and the whole thing. It's insane, Jim.
Yeah, they got a terrific appetite for violence. They just have. I never saw parties with an appetite for violence, but they're loaded with violence. Everything they're doing. Look at everything. All these projects he's putting out. There's violence against people. My younger brother went to get a prescription today. We stopped for a beer, and he said, "Geez," he said, the druggist, it was $340. He goes, "Well, you can thank Trump for that." I guess they stopped the
cap.
They stopped the cap.
Yep.
My brother's like,
congratulations, folks.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I got to run,
Jim. Take care, Patty. I know
Thanks.
you do, Patty.
All right,
take care. Thank you, Patty.
You. Let's take a break here, and we'll hang out with Tom Appel. I'll get to breathe again a little bit. It's a lot going on.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. And we want to welcome our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, joining us here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And you can listen to us anywhere that you get our reception, as well as on the TuneIn app and Spotify. You can also catch our shows all as podcasts, available on Amazon, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Apple Podcasts. So you can always catch our interviews, including featured interviews, if that's for me, Joan, Richard Chu, if you miss any of the shows, and out Chicago, Hal Sparks for all of us. So, and you can also go to heartlandsignal.com and you'll hear all of our full show podcasts, including the ones where I have Tom Appel, who joins me in studio. I love when you come here. I'm not sure I love the fact that you put a donut next to me. That I don't know how I'm supposed to talk and eat a donut, but it looks so good I don't want to not eat it. Hi, Tom Appel.
Hey, how are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, did I not see you? Oh, this is January. That makes sense.
Yeah, this is our first visit this year.
Hi. Good to see you again.
You too.
You came in with some information about basically a meeting, a financial update meeting with GM. Tell us a little bit about this, because there's a lot of conversations around this new administration. People talking about tariffs. We're talking about cuts to federal programs. So I hadn't really thought about the car industry. So it's good that you're here.
It's huge. The car industry deal is huge because Donald Trump is talking about putting a tariff on both Canada and Mexico of 25%. Mm-hmm. And the American auto industry does big business in both of those countries. About 1.5 million cars a year come from Canada to the U.S., and something like 3 or 4 million come up from Mexico. A lot of money changing hands there, and we were currently under NAFTA and then the revised NAFTA, the USMCA, which was presumably crafted in part by Donald Trump. We have 0% tariff between the three nations. And that's great for traffic because one of the complicating things about building a car is that the parts are built in one country, shipped to another where a larger part is built, and then it's moved back. So I don't even know how you track taxes and import tariffs and that sort of thing. So knocking those down makes life easier for these manufacturers. So today, Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors, very successful and respected CEO of General Motors, shared the news that General Motors had a great 2024. Sold a lot of electric vehicles. They're turning the corner on making money on electric vehicles. And they turned just a bunch of big money on a bunch of other stuff. They did good. General Motors had a great year. And 24 was not great for a lot of manufacturers. So it seems like a company under good stewardship at this point. Here's the bad news. She also discussed freely that she had spoken with Donald Trump. Donald Trump seems to understand the impact of tariffs on the auto industry, were he to impose these big tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and he doesn't care.
Did he tell her why he doesn't care? Did she? No, just he doesn't care.
I don't know how much of this she can or would reveal, but it's her concern that the tariffs are real and would have whatever guidance she gives now, the impact is going to be massive if they're enacted. So General Motors stock, after all this great news, fell 8%.
Wow.
Because the alarms are going off now.
Hold on, let me check do I own any GM? For folks who don't know, maybe specifically what kind of cars GM makes, tell us some of those.
General Motors makes Buick, Chevy, Cadillac, GMC.
Oh, boy.
Those are the big makes, yeah.
I'm trying to see, because after, like a lot of people, some people lost money yesterday on DeepSeek, which was this AI company. So now I'm trying to see if I was okay. But
auto stocks are really typically not very volatile.
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah. they tend to cruise along at the same rate all the time. They're kind of brick and mortar things. People expect stability from that industry.
Right.
Typically get it. So an 8% dip is ugly.
It's really ugly.
Yeah.
Well, that's so fascinating because, I mean, it is the I don't care administration, right? We don't care administration. And I would imagine even telling a woman who is a CEO was fun for him to say I don't care, because that seems to be the entire agenda is like, just I don't care.
Yeah, now Jim Farley, who's CEO of Ford, came away with a better interpretation after a conversation with Trump.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's tailored by the energy of the person or his impression of them or wanting to seem like the tough guy to abroad,
Mary Barra is an interesting character, too, because she was really like, back when the Catholics used to put in a pope who was going to die soon.
Yes.
And the Russians used to do this with what do they call them? Premiers? Mm-hmm. Those guys. They just needed someone in there for a little while. Mary Barra was installed as CEO when General Motors was going through that tragic and terrible key interlock issue where keys were getting stuck in the ignition and shutting off the ignition while the car was in motion. It was an ugly thing. Yeah, it was terrible. And it was ugly and embarrassing. And Mary Barra became CEO during that and made good of it. Mm-hmm. Like, she survived that and has been a fantastic CEO since then.
And you feel it was her obligation to tell them the information that she'd gotten from Trump, which was different from apparently the guy at Ford got.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, well, at least they came away. I don't know if they got different information. They
came away from it.
They certainly interpreted it differently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very interesting. And yeah, the whole thing is frightening.
Well, because either, and it could be that Ford, or he's lying. Right, and saying, no, it's great. I don't think we're going to have a tariff.
The North American Dealer Association meeting just happened, and a bunch of bank analysts came out with their projections for 2025, and most of them came in around 16 million, 16.2 million, which would be the highest we've seen since before COVID. Wow. In terms of annual automotive sales in the U.S. But none of these guys were talking about the tariffs.
Wow. Right. Well,
and I don't know, and people ask me about it, and I have no sense of whether this is going to happen now or not. And Mary Barra is the first person publicly, I think, to just admit that she's afraid of this.
Well, it's interesting, too, because of today's news with, cutting programs. I don't think people understand the ripple effect through the economy, right? Because it's not just that the folks who receive benefits, it's also the people who work in those agencies, right? So now you have support services. They have car payments. They have mortgage payments. They got to pay their rent. And then it's going to put a squeeze on, and that's millions of people who then maybe aren't thinking about buying a car anymore.
No, there's really broader implications here, too. When NAFTA was enacted way back when, Bill Clinton time.
Yep, I remember.
And yeah, it was very controversial. And my dad, who's pretty moderate, was very anti-NAFTA for a lot of reasons. And I had a lot of conversations with him about this. But one of the things that NAFTA was supposed to do was raise the standard of living for common workers in Mexico. And a lot of manufacturing was going to go there. And that is what happened. And the big three, the Detroit Three, have invested billions and billions and billions of dollars in plants down there that may become worthless if they have to pay a 25% tariff on these vehicles, which means they would have to build new plants in the U.S. So they lose assets. They're on the hook to replace those with newer assets at higher labor costs in the U.S. And American jobs are good. I get that. But that doesn't really work the way this industry works. And the same thing with Canada. They'd lose a bunch of jobs.
Wow. Man, I guess it does reveal sort of the delicate balance, I think is what you're saying. The delicate balance that we've had. And, man, that's a little disturbing.
It's frightening. It's frightening. And short term, there will be upheaval.
Yeah.
If these are enacted, cars will become very expensive for a while, and there will be a shortage of them. It's going to be very weird.
Well, and then the other aspect of that, too, is the banking industry and interest rates, right? Because people also don't want to have high interest rates when they take out a loan for a car.
No, and affordability is an issue right now.
Yeah.
The average new car loan is $750. The average used car loan is something like $500 to $550. It's a big affordability issue.
Yeah.
The average family can no longer afford a new car.
No.
They have to buy used, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And part of what we saw in COVID is that manufacturers, I'm turning on them now, the manufacturers learn they can sell fewer cars and make more money.
Right.
Actually, it seems like everyone in America learned that. That's why we're dealing with some inflation right now. But the fact is that if there was any hope that more affordable cars are going to hit the market, that goes away if these tariffs kick in.
Wow. We're hanging out with Tom Appel, Car Guide Tom. Where can folks find all of the good things like your podcast?
Well, if you go to consumerguide.com, everything is there.
Okay.
So you can read our new car reviews. You can stream the podcast, but people should just subscribe to the podcast. Apple's the best place because that's where I need reviews.
Okay, good to know. We have to write some reviews, folks. Let's come back and see what Tom's driving and what cars he's got his eyes on as the auto show comes up in a bit, doesn't it?
February 8th.
Oh, so I won't see you before the car show.
No.
Oh, that's like in a week and a half.
Yeah.
That's like, what? Oh.
Big deal. A lot of cars.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that when we come back on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul. If you have a question for Tom Appel, he'll be with us. Hey, you can hang out for the author we have coming up.
I could stick around.
Yeah, find out about this book. And if you have any questions for Tom, you can call or text us at 773-763-9278. I have to go eat a donut because he brought some really good donuts. Where did these come from again?
Spunky Dunkers.
Spunky Dunkers.
The pride of Palatine.
Paul, come and get you a Spunky Dunker. Coming in here. More after this.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
I'm so glad that Paul Shavari came in here and grabbed a donut because otherwise, Matt Cummings, you're being requested to join us in the, Matt, please grab some donuts, some Spunky Dunkers. We got a text from a listener who says they're from Palatine, and everyone here knows Spunky Dunkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a landmark. That's it.
That's it.
If you know about Palatine, you know about Spunky Dunkers.
Have you been to Los Angeles?
I have.
So the big donut place with the big...
Never got there.
I wish I could bring you... I'm leaving for LA tomorrow.
Oh.
Because, if there's a snowstorm or a fire that I could fly towards, that would be a lot of fun for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Just bring the snow with you.
I scheduled all of this in December, not realizing I basically am a harbinger of bad things to come. So that happened. But at any rate, I have had those. Their donuts are... I can't remember the name of it. It's a big, huge...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, huge donut. Yeah, it's
a landmark.
Good. Yes, it is. So good. And always a line. LA always has a line. And big car culture. I mean, we talk about car culture, but LA, you can't get anywhere unless you have a car.
I am currently obsessed with watching Adam 12. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it was a cop show from the early 70s. But what the Blues Brothers was for Chicago in terms of being kind of a documentary of culture and street scenes, this is for L.A. And it's pretty well directed. So the crazy thing about L.A. and California in the early 70s was that those people would buy any kind of crazy car. So there are things there from England and from Italy that no one bought in the Midwest.
Right.
You watch this show, and you're like, what the heck is this? And I have followers on Blue Sky that are ridiculously good at identifying cars the background on Adam 12.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, I love that. So you... every week, is it every week that you get a new car?
Yes.
Every week you get a new car.
Yes.
Like, do you just roll? You don't even know what you're getting.
I get a schedule in advance. I try not to mess with it because it's just the flow of things.
Okay.
So it's kind of fun to get things different.
So how far in advance do you know what car you're getting next?
Month and a half.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. That's some good lead time.
It's plenty of time to plan.
Yeah, I guess. So what do you have this week?
I just got out of the Ford F-150 Lightning. That's the electric Ford F-150 half-ton pickup. And I got that on the coldest day of the year.
Oh, God.
And for people who...
So last Monday? No, last Tuesday. Right.
Yeah. So people who have heard that the cold has a profound impact on battery life.
Yes.
It does. It should be off 320 miles. When I got it, it said 100% charge with a range of 183 miles. So about a third lost.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's brutal. And that's as bad as it's going to get because it was seriously cold.
Yeah. I mean, I know it can get colder for longer, though, so that seems problematic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fantastic truck apart from that. Enjoyed driving it. It as an electric vehicle is fantastic. I've heard people say it's not a great work truck. And part of the reason for that is it doesn't tow very well in terms of range.
Right.
You lose a lot of range if you're pulling 5,000 pounds, but that's true of everything electric. Weird situation. I don't know what to make of that, but boy, did I enjoy driving that. A little expensive.
I would imagine.
A little expensive,
Let me guess,
$80K.
I was going to say 75. I was so close.
So it's a lot of money. And then this is the thing about equipping that vehicle like that. It doesn't qualify for the federal tax credit over $75K on the window sticker. So you're kind of making a crazy decision. You still can do the lease workaround.
Okay.
And Donald Trump hasn't done anything about that yet. So you can still do that.
But they have suspended the EV. Like, isn't there supposed to be some construction? Isn't there some...
NEVI, which was the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Act from about 2 years ago.
Oh, God.
Took forever to line up, but people knew that it was going to do this because every state has to apply for the money, and then that money has to be approved and then given to the states. So that's where we're at now. The money is flowing to the states for the big build-out should have been this year. And I don't know for what reason.
It got stalled.
Yeah, and then the judge released that money today temporarily. I don't know where we're at with this, but it was a lot of money.
Okay, hold on. If they release money for NEVI but not for Medicaid, it's my phone binging.
Oh,
someone just realized that the car show is coming up. My co-producer Jerry, because we're going to talk about that too. So it's we're definitely making sure we have a full hour recap with you at the end of February for our usual. Yeah, we will not.
It's going to be a good auto show. A lot of manufacturers are back.
Okay,
so that's exciting.
So what do you learn about the auto show ahead of time?
It depends what they want to tell us. So it looks like that launch news, this used to be a big deal where the media would go there and there'd be all sorts of reveals. Right. But manufacturers don't like that anymore, so the media is slightly being cut out of the pre-show event, but it doesn't matter because the auto show is still there. 1,000 cars on the floor of McCormick Place. You get to see every darn new car there. And Jeep, Stellantis, Jeep Parent Company, Stellantis had bailed out last year. They're back this year. And the track is back this year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, plus VinFast is there.
Sorry. And now people are calling me to talk about cars. Go ahead.
But VinFast is going to be there. If you haven't heard about it, it's a Vietnamese startup in the electric car company. They're trying to establish themselves.
Okay.
But you can see their vehicles. The styling is interesting, controversially interesting.
Why is it controversial?
Yeah, they may not be great looking.
Okay.
It's up to you.
All right.
It's up to you, the consumer.
What's it
but
called?
It's good to say VinFast, VINFAST.
Okay. So
startup company.
So when you say the tracks, what has been like? What would you say is one of your most memorable auto show these sort of like gimmicks? You know, we have the standard like rotating car with a beautiful woman kind of a thing, but I remember didn't they have like kid Jeeps for like kids like they had like a off-roading kind of adventure for them.
There was a ridiculous period, and I think this happened in Chicago, but it might have been Detroit. There was a reveal by General Motors of their ethanol program, their E85 program.
Okay.
People might remember this. It was a total tax boondoggle, but farmers really wanted to sell ethanol because it comes from corn. And introducing it and making it tax incentivizing E85, 85% alcohol, was really good for the corn industry. And General Motors latched onto this because burning ethanol is a little bit cleaner than burning gas.
Okay.
So it was also going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. a thing we don't really have anymore.
Correct. Yep.
But the launch was absurd because there was a giant bucket. And when I say giant, I mean like 10, 12 feet high.
Just a bucket? Like a literally
filled with fake popcorn or something.
God.
You know what they might have been? They might have been actually corn squeeze balls, I think.
Oh, God.
So the thing at the auto show dumps over, and then you see an E85 truck. It was super silly. And General Motors way over-dedicated to E85, a thing which, like, national petroleum retailers never latched onto, consumers never latched onto.
Yeah, why is that?
Part of the problem is you needed a new pump.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I still see E85s on the road.
You'll see it in Iowa.
Right.
And you'll see it sometimes on the interstate.
A little bit in Illinois, but yeah.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin, a little bit.
The money doesn't work out. You lose about a third of your fuel economy.
Oh, God.
But you're paying like 20% less. So, like, the math doesn't work.
So you don't like the look of the VinFast?
No.
Oh.
You like it?
I kind of do.
Yeah?
It's a little Batmobile-y.
It kind of looks like an Asian design with no consideration for Western taste.
Okay, then. Yeah, but there's this little boxy one's really cute. The VinFast V3. It looks like, what does this look like?
I don't know if that's real yet.
Oh, okay.
Or it's not destined for the U.S. soon.
But it's only 2 doors. I don't like anything with 2 doors. It looks better than one of those. Do you know those little tiny cars that look like if you just put a ramp on the back of your minivan, you just drive it into a minivan? This looks slightly bigger than that.
I've seen a few smart cars that startle me by how small they are.
Yeah.
I never see them anymore.
It's a little disorienting.
Yeah.
So when does the auto show run?
It's February 8th through February the following. It's 2 Mondays later. I forget the date. But
it starts February 8th.
Yeah, February is starting date. That's a Saturday. It's open. The next day is Super Sunday. A great day to go because it's not crowded.
Super Bowl Sunday, you mean?
Yep.
Interesting.
So that's a good way to go. They do close early that day, and then the rest of the thing is basically wide open.
Now, for a car show in Chicago, how many days do you typically go for?
Do I go?
Yeah.
I used to go for the media days. I'm having a problem walking. This is my own problem because I need knee surgery.
Oh, boy.
So I will not go to media days, but I usually go to media day and one additional day.
Okay.
So
I remember the first auto show I ever went to. I want to say it was like 1989. When was the first year of Saturn production, would you say?
That's probably it.
Right? So Mom was looking for a car. She was looking for her first car. It can't be right. Maybe a little bit earlier. But at any rate, I just remember, I think I've told you this before, it was the first time I ever saw a Saturn, and the guy showing it to us, like, kicked the door to show us, like, it just pops back out. And I was like, what is happening?
I was just talking about this. If you went to a Saturn dealership back in the day, they had a door hanging on the wall, and next to it a rubber mallet on a string, on a rope. And you were just encouraged to beat the heck out of the door.
Yeah, I don't.
And it was a little scuffed after a lot of kids did their best to damage it. But it was pretty impressive. But they were composite plastic.
Right.
Very durable, doesn't rust. The finish was never great on those cars anyway, but it was good. And it never diminished. The only problem really was that because it was composite plastic and not steel, weather had a big impact on the size of those panels.
Right.
So in the winter when it was cold, you'd see huge gaps between the doors and the fenders that you could stick things through. No. And that was ugly. But but my sister had a 93 SL1 that served her very well.
Yeah, my friend Diane had one, and I liked Saturns. I felt bad when they went out of production because then there were all these folks with Saturns. I mean, they were still serviceable by, was it GM? Were they a GM car? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look at me tapping into just pulling that file out of some corridor of my brain.
Saturn should have happened, and what happened was there was a change in leadership at General Motors, and they decided not to support it. So initially they were hugely popular, because they were super affordable, and they just had this little simple sheet of options. You knew exactly what your car cost, and that was the price,
right?
And it was a good price. So you sit there I want an SL1 with an automatic transmission and air conditioning and cassette. And you could just do the price on this little piece of paper and bring it to a dealer, and that was the price of your car.
Right. Tom, we're talking about being reasonable. Seriously. It's not the kind of reality we function in. We're hanging out with Tom Appel, Car Guy Tom, on your social media, Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram as well, Facebook, just Facebook.
I'm too lazy for that.
Me too. I don't really. Yeah. I mean, I'm on there, but I don't post that much anymore. I talk here for 2 hours a day.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
This is your social media.
This is my social media. Hey, if you want to know where to find me.
Radio is the original social media.
I'm telling you. That was okay, let's not get into that former employment. Anyway, that was what we tried.
Did I just steal something?
No, we tried making that. I was like, that was my big thing. I'm like, we should have made that a bigger thing, the original social media. But, It's legacy media doesn't want to have anything to do with moving forward, as it were. But we love our friends that are still there. Hi, Steve and Johnny. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to have an author on to talk. It's one of the things that I've been, one of the wonderful things about having guests who take us out of the flood of news every single day is getting to have these conversations that also tie in to what's going on in the world. So we're going to have an author on in just a moment. We have joining us will be Jenny Walsh. She has a new historical fiction novel called Ace Marvel Spy, and we'll find out more about that when we come back with Tom Appel, guest co-hosting on that interview. Feel free to ask questions.
Cool.
All right, then. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. I really should not finish this donut. Do I finish the donut? I don't know. It's a really good donut from Spunky Dunkers.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And we want to say hello to our friends listening in the evening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, as we broadcast here in Chicago on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. And, of course, you can visit heartlandsignal.com to check out all of our shows, as well as listen to all of our shows that are podcast there. Joining me in studio, guest co-hosting with me, is Car Guide Tom. Go to
ConsumerGuide.com, yeah.
And find all of his work and subscribe to the podcast, and especially on Apple. Leave a review.
Please.
We would appreciate that. And joining us on the line is author Jenny Walsh to discuss her new historical fiction novel, Ace Marvel Spy. Jenny, where are we talking to you from? Whereabouts in the world are you?
I am outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, I love Philadelphia. Okay, I'm going to live here for a moment with you, Jenny. I think Philadelphia is one of the most underrated, the unsung hero of a food landscape. I love the food in Philly. Are you from Philly originally?
Yes, I am, and I agree. The food is quite good.
It's so very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start writing? Were you a kid always reading books and writing?
I was a very active child who kind of preferred playing soccer or being outside more so than reading. But I did enjoy it from time to time, and I was always very proud when I finished a big book. But I really didn't see myself as an author until I was pushing 30 into my 30s, and that's when I started to write, and I realized I loved it, and I've been doing it ever since.
And you have a lot of different genres that you write. Tell us a little bit about the sort of different areas, because it's not typical for someone to do kind of like younger novels or books, and then the historical novel that you're doing. Tell us about the range that you have and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that I write for both children and adults. A lot of times I will have an idea, and then I will slot it into an age group depending on who the audience feels like it is for that book. So I write historical fiction for kids. I've written nonfiction for kids, contemporary for kids. For adults, I've done primarily historical fiction. That's fantastic.
I tell folks, when it comes to historical fiction, it's a great way to kind of get this insight into what was happening. How do you do research for your historical fiction?
Well, for my most recent book, it's called Ace Marvel Spy. This one is about a real woman. Her name was Alice Marble, and she was the it girl in tennis in the 30s. She was an editor and a writer on the Wonder Women comic series. And the war started, and she was an international spy. So she kind of had this incredible story, and she wrote about it in her own memoir. So that was my main resource of research when I was sitting down to write this book, because the story she told in her memoir was incredible, but it hadn't yet been told in a novel form. So I saw my opportunity to bring her story to a larger audience.
Oh, I love that. I mean, and this was something that hit me last week when I learned that there was this decision to remove teaching about women who served in World War II as pilots, because a lot of people don't know about the WASP. And it sounds like you want to bring some of these stories to life so we don't forget about the sort of world we used to live in and how far we've come. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And for Alice in particular, she was such a huge woman of those times, huge in tennis. She's part of the Tennis Hall of Fame, yet many avid tennis players today don't remember her name or haven't heard of her name. So it's a big honor, and it's something that I really enjoy, to make sure that these women aren't lost to history. That's fantastic. And you have a lot on your plate. You're a writer, a professor, and a mom. How do you strike that balance between all those hats that you wear? Sometimes I am not sure, but I try to do my best to balance and kind of keep my jobs to different parts of the day. It's almost like you're like, okay, as long as I compartmentalize it. Because for me, if the compartments get too full, it's hard to close them again. But I think the writing must be a huge outlet for you then. Oh, yes. I love it. It just gives me a time to let my brain be free and go where it wants to go. What was it like, that first book that you wrote? Because, it's one thing to write a book, but now how many have you written altogether? It looks here like about, my goodness, there's pages and pages about, what is this, 14, 15? Ace Marvel Spy is my 13th published book. Wow. I have 2 more books coming this year, one for children and one for adults. But then I also have 3 or 4 manuscripts that were never published. Oh. So you're working on all of them. I have quite a bit. So, some of those manuscripts will never see the light of day, but they were, practice ones to teach me how to write, show me that I love writing, and they're just as important to me as the ones that have been published. Has there been a story that you've written? Because I wrote a couple of screenplays years ago, and I remember there were certain characters, like I would just be thinking about them all the time. Do you get so submerged that it's like hard to focus on other things because you're in that character? You're thinking about their lives and imagining that world? Oh, definitely. When I was writing Ace Marvel Spy, I actually retyped Alice's memoir because I wanted her thoughts in my brain. I wanted her emotions to become my emotions. It's almost like putting on a second skin. And as you said, those characters become so important to you. So rewriting her memoir was a way for me to just really embrace who Alice was.
Real quick question for you. My daughter and I recently started watching historical cooking shows. There's one in particular that's really rewarding to watch, and much of the entertainment, much of the content of that show comes from personal remembrances, diaries, and things like that, which is a dead art. And I'm wondering how much you rely on that, and if you're worried that if you move forward too much into the 50s, perhaps, that you're not going to see that kind of content anymore. Do you do a lot of research into diaries and personal remembrances like that? Yes. Whenever I can get my hands on a memoir or a diary, that's always the first thing that I jump at. Cool. I worry about my journals. No one's going to be interested in how much I made at Pizza Hut in 1986. Oh, I have. One of my diaries is state's evidence. Anyway, that's not really. Wow. That's a long story for another day. But so to Tom's point, though, it is interesting to think about journaling, because there are young women, young girls, or youngsters who it's just like, I had a crush. It's not quite that. There is a difference, not just in whether people write, but the quality of what they write, wouldn't you say? Yeah, the substance is an issue. Yes. Oh, yes. I can remember my own diaries. Not much substance there. I literally would write down how much I made at Pizza Hut at lunchtime when I was waitressing tables. Like, no one cares what I made in 1986. You know what? Someone may care. It's going to be 400 years from now. Sure. Yeah. Well, that brings up another point. Because you don't only do historical, you also do famous people. Because I love that you have a book about the book called She Dared. Tell us a little bit about that book, too. Yes. So She Dared is books for children, ages grades 3 through grade 7. And they are nonfiction, but they're narrative. So they're completely based on fact, but they're written as you would read a novel. So they're more entertaining and fast-paced. But those are unauthorized biographies of Malala and of Bethany Hamilton. And those are some of my first books that kids pick up because there's pictures and there's photographs, and it just tells their survival stories. And kids are just very much inspired by those 2 women. And not one, but 2 books on Bonnie. One, Bonnie before Bonnie met Clyde. And I love this, side by side. What got you interested in Bonnie? Well, I was trying to think of women whose stories hadn't been told. And, of course, there's the film about Bonnie and Clyde. But whenever you think of Bonnie and Clyde,
you mostly go towards Clyde, and a lot of the stories are focused on him, and Bonnie's kind of the side character. So I wanted to tell a story from Bonnie's perspective, first person, present tense, almost give her a voice that she's never been given before. And most surprising to me was that I found out that the way that the media had portrayed her, the way that the film had portrayed her, was vastly different than what I had found in her sister's diary, for example. Or Bonnie wrote a lot of songs and poetry, but they were very intuitive to what she was experiencing in life. So I really wanted to get Bonnie's point of view out there and tell a story that hadn't yet been told before.
I love that you're capturing these stories and sharing them. We've been talking to Jenny Walsh. The newest book is Ace Marvel Spy, inspired by Alice Marvel, who should not be lost to history. And you can find out more about all of Jenny's work at jennywalsh.com. That's Jenny with an I. I appreciate that as a Patty with an I. jennywalsh.com. And you can. I think these will all be great gifts, especially for young readers in her Young Readers collection. But all great books for us to enjoy. Thank you so much, Jenny. I look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
You too.
Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Tom Appel, Car Guy Tom, after this.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Hello to our friends listening on KTNF, AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and, of course, listening here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. You can go to heartlandsignal.com and find out about all of our shows and catch anything you missed. Tomorrow on Choose Views, Richard Chu will be talking to university professor, author, and DEI expert Dante King, as well as Choose Views contributor Kurt Mullett, a.k.a. Hoosier Blue 63. Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 on WCPT. And Joan Esposito is going to talk to James West, executive director at Mother Jones. So, and Spencer Critchley, author of Patriots of Two Nations and host of Dastardly Cleverness in the Service of Good Podcasts, of course, 2 to 5 right here on WCPT. Joining me in studio is Car Guy Tom. Tom Appel joins us, and he just got a text right here. Just turned on the show. I'm a big fan of Tom's podcast. Very cool contrast between him and Jill. Best car podcast, in my opinion, and I listen to it a lot. The quizzes are hilarious.
The quizzes are fun. For people who don't know, if you don't care about cars at all, just go to the third segment and listen to the quiz.
All right.
Every week I quiz Jill, my co-host.
Do you have any quizzes for me from past quizzes?
I can do one. I don't remember any.
I know.
But the bonus question is always a shocking question that has nothing to do with anything cars.
Oh, okay.
It was the menu of McDonald's in New Zealand this week.
Okay. So the quiz was about New Zealand. What do they have?
No, just the bonus question. There's 170 McDonald's in New Zealand.
Which is okay.
And they have a unique menu for New Zealand. So the question was, which of the following not on the New Zealand McDonald's menu? And it was the Kiwi Burger, the Angus Kiwi Burger, the Triple Cheeseburger, or the Deluxe Double Cod Burger.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the quiz question.
Just the Kiwi Burger, the first one.
All the Kiwi stuff's legit.
All the Kiwi stuff's legit. So it's just the Angus or the cod.
That is the cheapest form of personalization. They just add the word Kiwi to the McDonald's.
I know. I was like, did they do it twice? Well, I guess it was a double burger.
Yeah.
I guess they would do it twice. All right, then.
Yeah, so the cod thing, that turned out to... That was the fake.
I'm kind of disappointed by that. I kind of want a cod burger.
They might be, too.
All right, then.
The cod's expensive.
It is.
So.
Yeah. I actually have a friend from Scotland who visited Chicago a few weeks ago, and he liked elephant and... What's the name of the... There's a British restaurant downtown Chicago. I'm sure someone will text it to us. But he says it's very good. It's very good fish and chips.
Okay.
So I'm going to take him over to Vaughn's over here on Northwest Highway next week and see if he likes the Vaughn's Irish Pub fish and chips. I love some fish and chips.
It'd be interesting to know what I became a vegetarian before I had my first Scotch egg. So I never had a Scotch egg. Oh. But I feel like I need to have one someday. But no place makes a vegetarian Scotch egg. But you know what that is?
Isn't it brined in something? No.
Yeah, it's an egg that I think has been pickled, wrapped in bacon, and then wrapped in dough and deep fried. And it seems like a thing I need to know about.
Do you have any plans to go to New Orleans?
Not soon.
Well, if you ever do, so the Vampire Cafe, which is such a fun place to go, they have they're fried deviled eggs, and they don't have bacon on them.
Oh,
and they're
I want that.
freaking fantastic.
I love deviled eggs.
Like a little bit of caviar. Like one had a little bit of caviar. One had a little bit of little salmon. I don't feel it. But you can have without those, because they're just like a just a dip dab.
Deviled eggs are. I feel guilty while I'm eating them. I don't know why. They just seem like incredibly rich and delicious, and it's like
so good.
And then they're small. Like you don't want to take too many
But these were because they were. I don't know what it was about the breading or something. Because we only got 3, right? So we cut 1 in half, had 1 1/2 because it was me and my friend Susie, and it was perfect. We only ordered like small plates. Oh my god, I ate so much food last week. That's why I should not be eating this donut. I ate so much. These are so good. But you know what? I'm stress eating. I'll be honest. It's a little stressful. Thank you very much. It is Elephant and Castle was 312 just messaged.
Oh,
there's a couple. I
have not heard of that.
Elephant and Castle is downtown, not far from the studios that you sometimes visit on Saturdays.
Yeah.
With our friends Steve and Johnny. So Elephant and
right
Castle,
there. Okay.
right over by there. Not right there, but not far. It's like on. It's not State Street. It's the street east of State Street. I can't think of it. Anyway, yes, it's over by there. I like that one. I used to go there after work because they're open late. But yeah. But at any rate, have you been to New Orleans?
I have.
How do you?
Yeah, for conventions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bad place. If you're working a convention and you're not like there as a guest, but you're there to actually work for, it's a bad place to go because you're inclined to go out till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, walking around with ridiculous drinks on the street. Those what do they call them? Hurricanes.
Yeah, I've been there now twice in a year, and I've never had a hurricane. It just looks. I had one in spring break in like 1991. It was just syrupy and sweet. And gross.
No, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
It's expensive. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's not as alcoholic as it should be for the price.
Yeah, I had an old fashioned. Okay. I had a Sazerac, which was fantastic. Those are more my...
Did you like that?
Oh, I love Sazeracs.
I don't know if I do. Okay. Very licoricey.
Oh, so I like anise. Like that's an absinthe. I like those kinds of flavors.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like those kinds of things.
Yeah, my family, we bought absinthe to try it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, my daughter liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't drink, but
you like the taste of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan of that. I am going to Los Angeles tomorrow, so Dwayne Kennedy and Adam Burke will be filling in for me. And I just there's a lot of news, and I'm okay with pacing it. I don't have to be here for the beginning of this craziness.
I don't. In the short term, we're going to have a long time to talk about it.
Right? Yeah. Because, I did everything I could ahead of time, right?
You did, and thank you.
I did everything I could. A lot of us left it out on the field, and thank you for that. But a lot of us just were out there hitting the pavement, worried about what this was going to be like. And so having done that, I think I've already absorbed that it's going to be bad. I'd have to steel myself for what's to come. I do really want to thank you for that, though, because the chances that flipping Wisconsin would have mattered were high going into this. It was a huge thing, and you did what you could. Well, it was funny because there was a race in Indiana I wanted to go help out with. It was a board race for a history teacher. And I promised that I promised, so I feel bad that I didn't go. But I just, it was that we had so much at stake with the entire state of Wisconsin. And the thing is that we came close, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens with their Supreme Court race. And but did you see that we were talking earlier to Harry Dunn, who was a January 6th Capitol Police officer who was attacked, and we were talking about the people who were pardoned. Did you see the shaman I'm gonna go buy a bunch of effing guns? That's exactly why we shouldn't have let you out. Well, he's staying true to character. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, got to give him that. Yeah. So Tom and I were talking about the car show, which starts on February 8th. So people will be coming into Chicago from all over the country. They do. All over the world. And Chicago, interestingly, I heard the statistic, and I hope I get it right. The percent of households that send someone to the Chicago Auto Show are twice as high as any other auto show. I believe that. It's a really big part of Chicago culture. Interesting. Yeah. Well, and I wonder, because it's McCormick Place again. And I think that McCormick Place does a really good job of showcasing both the products, the people who are, not the products, but whatever is being showcased, whether it's a food convention or a Comic-Con, a car show. I think that it's just so well done. McCormick Place, for whatever controversy there is around running McCormick Place, it is a beautiful venue. Yes. And it serves the auto show so
well.
It really
and you
is.
just come in from the parking garage, which is right across the street, and you can cross in a heated tunnel, which a heated bridge, and then you're in this beautiful venue, and you go up to the, the third floor, I think, and it's the entire third floor. It's almost 1 million square feet of cars.
Car World.
So cool.
And Tom recommends that you go on Super Bowl Sunday, which is February 9th.
Yeah, sneak in before there won't be a crowd that day.
No. And you also mentioned the most kind of absurd, the big giant popcorn bucket. But what would you say has been your favorite? Because there's all kinds of swag. There's Frisbees. There's pens. Have you got anything you still like? There's always like the worry squishies and stuff like that.
Not so much on the squeeze balls anymore, but Subaru still does their association. I think it's with the National Forestry Service. Beautiful display. And it's sort of, people may not remember Tread Lightly, but it was this whole movement that people should off-road, but with great respect for the environment.
Ooh. And
I think that particular organization is gone, but Subaru in spirit still maintains it. And they have a beautiful display. And they bring in puppies. Subaru brings in puppies.
I'm sorry,
that
there
you
are
can
puppies?
adopt. Yeah, there's puppies.
That you can adopt?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. So Subaru, thank you.
I mean, you had me at puppies and they're up for adoption. My husband's listening. He goes, you cannot have a puppy.
Yep. Also, Jeep and Ford will have test tracks again.
Okay.
Which is super cool.
So for test tracks, is it kind of like the cars at Great America where it's someone else is moving it for you? You're not actually driving it.
No one's allowed to drive on those.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculous. But there's someone with you.
There's someone with you?
Yeah.
Are they
someone qualified?
But they have a wheel on there. Wait, so you said you have an F-150. You had an F-150, but that's not what you're in today, is it?
No. I'm in the Ford Explorer ST. The Ford Explorer.
Hello.
Ford's extremely popular midsize 3-row crossover was redesigned for this year. The ST is a new high-performance version of it.
Okay.
400 horsepower. Really cool red contrasting stitching on the interior. Sports suspension. Very nice vehicle. If you want something more than a regular crossover and you have $60K, this is the way to go.
I do not have that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
It's expensive, but you can do an Explorer much, much cheaper.
Okay.
This is just sort of the creme de la creme.
So I'm not going to see you until February 26th. So we'll do our recap.
Yeah.
And whatever news evolves, there may be changes in the tariffs.
This could be a very interesting month.
Yes, I agree. But someone's trying to call now. We have 2 minutes. Do you know what you're having next week then? You said you have like a few weeks out. What are you stepping into next week?
I believe, I have to check my schedule, but the Lexus makes an electric vehicle. That's a little disappointing in terms of range, but it is otherwise wonderful. And that's the RZ 450E. It's a Lexus vehicle. It's a compact crossover. It is really nice. So I'm getting the newest version of that. Nice vehicle, little expensive, but
little.
It is.
I'm guessing that one pushes it. Is that more than the F-150?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's probably more like 65 the way this one's equipped. But if you don't need great range and you want a typical Lexus experience, great way to go.
Look at Roosevelt calling in with 1 minute to go. Hey Roosevelt, how you doing, my friend?
How you guys doing? Thank you for taking my call, Tom. I got a couple of questions for you, real quick. So I understand that in California, there are more truck drivers buying electric, hydrogen fuel trucks. So the goal is to reduce carbon emissions and improve air quality in the state of California. Second, who's going to win the tug of war between the richest man in the world and our newest president as far as electric car versus how he's going to want more gas-driven cars?
Second question first. I'm really confused about what it is that Elon Musk is trying to do. I don't understand because he is alienating his base and he's not making friends with red state voters who might have bought the Cybertruck, but the Cybertruck is a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know where that's going. Your first question, hydrogen-powered cars, often fuel cell trucks, heavily, heavily subsidized by the government of California and the government of the United States. They are not practical on their own yet financially. But the pier out there in L.A. On the port, they want these emissions-free vehicles. So there is money in selling them there, but that is not indication of how they would sell elsewhere.
There you go, Roosevelt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
Have a good day.
Look at that. He knew exactly how to get that done. Car Guy Tom, you can find him at consumerguide.com.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, which is Car Stuff?
Just a Car Stuff podcast.
Car Stuff podcast.
Yep.
And you can see if you know anything on the quiz at the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely have fun at the car show.
Thank you.
I will see you on February 26th.
Sounds good.
I've been informed. I love that. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Paul Shivari. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Be well. I'm gone until Monday. Enjoy Adam Burke and Dwayne Kennedy.